if the officers wanted to change the way things are, wanted to run for the executive board, we know right now it's almost impossible for an officer to run for the executive board.
It is impossible.
Because the system is rigged to allow the people that are there to stay there.
Yeah.
Tell us what went wrong. Tell us how we can make it right.
Well, the bylaws for the Correction Officers Benevolent Association were changed in 2013, I think, in such a way, and I have a website. Can I give it?
Sure.
www.ubethejudge, no spaces, ubethejudge.co. www.ubethejudge.co. Go on that website, scroll to the bottom. That is a copy of our COBA Constitution and Bylaws for anybody that wants to see them. In that copy, there are a lot of red highlighted areas. All those red highlighted areas are areas that were changed. Those were the changes that they made. And the changes that they made were, off the top of my head, were regarding finances. You no longer have to bring large financial decisions to the membership. Because before, you would have to bring large financial decisions to the membership. There are changes with regards to how to remove someone from their position. There are changes on how to become a member of the executive board. And those are the most important ones. Right now, the way the Constitution and Bylaws is, no correction officer can run for those positions unless they are already a delegate. Make 10 consecutive meetings, which is almost impossible because they don't even have meetings. If you don't have 100 people, the meeting's over, it's adjourned, and you continue on your day. So I don't know how it's going to be possible to make 10 consecutive meetings. You don't get release time for it. You just have to be there. Sometimes they're at 9 in the morning, sometimes they're at 4. You have to make 10 consecutive meetings. You have to be a delegate. You have to get half the delegates to sign a petition for you to run for any executive board position. Of course, they're going to have the opportunity to talk to those people and say, don't you dare do that. Not for him. And, I went through all that when I tried to run for the position of president. I had 26 years on the job at the time. I was a delegate for 14 years and a board member for 5. But somehow they deemed that I was not eligible to run for the position of president. These bylaws are it's the way they designed them. They'll be in power forever, and if I'm not in power, whoever I want to be in power will come in and take over.
Right.
Where I left
you
off.
mean in like the
if I was a board member now,
right? If you were Elias right now,
exactly.
Or
I might leave. If I'm Elias, I might leave, but my pick is going to sit there and continue what it is that I'm doing.
Gotcha.
The previous bylaws did not have that clause in it. Anyone that wished to run ran. Why would an executive board be nervous about a group, especially if they're not smart or not savvy or not popular? Why would you care if those people ran against you? They'd clearly lose.
Right. See, my position when I heard about this change in the bylaws that restricted people from running, my position was that if you're doing a good job as the executive board, you don't have to worry about losing, because the officers will support you if they see that you're doing a good job. And that's how it always has been. That I didn't think that Norman or Elias and them were scared of competition. I thought they felt that, hey, we can run on our record. We're good as long as we do good by the officers. We're golden. They're going to keep voting for us. But for them to say, okay, we're just going to restrict people from running against us, right there, that sent up a red flag for me.
Right.
You should be running on your record, not because the rules are stopping people from running against you.
Look, the election for the union is in 2020. Look at your union. Look what you have. Officers are getting assaulted like crazy, and Elias keeps saying the same thing over and over when he speaks in public. This is an outrage. Enough is enough. We call for the resignation of the commissioner. And nothing else happens after that. He's made that speech in front of hospitals when officers get assaulted. He's made that speech on the steps of City Hall. He's made that speech in front of correction officers at the meeting. Nothing is following that. Nothing else is happening.
So I want to get into what should the officers do, or what can they do in order to change the bylaws? How would that happen?
The only thing you can do to make a difference in this union is remove the people that are there now and start again. In order to do that, the election is coming up in 2020. The only way that you can possibly make something happen, step one is changing this book, is removing the obstacles and hurdles that they put in place so that they stay on forever and no one else gets an opportunity to run for these positions. You have to make the changes. In order to do that, there's a section in the bylaws, and you can go on the website or you can ask for a copy. It's Article 13, Amendments. That article tells you step by step exactly what you have to do in order to change these bylaws. But I warn you that I've been down this road before and I've tried to do it, and they do not want you to do this. So if you attempt this, you have to have great numbers, lots of officers behind you with the same message, and you have to be forceful with this union and let them know that this is what you want to do, because they will not let you do it.
So what are the steps? I know we should read that, and we're going to read that. I'm going to post it.
Okay.
But how long would this process take if the officers were organized? What would they have to do?
2 meetings. You would have to, at the first meeting, first of all, you'd have to write the bylaws. Let's say, for example, you want to change the bylaws back to what they were before you made all these changes. It allows anybody to run. It speaks of the financial reports that have to be made and the fact that the executive board has to go before the membership for any large financial decisions. All right? You want to bring it back to that? Then what you would have to do is bring a copy of the old bylaws, submit a motion at the meeting. You would have to have 10 officers sign your intent. So I want to bring the bylaws back to what they were before. You fill out a document, you get a copy of the old bylaws, you get 10 officers to sign. Yes, we want the bylaws to revert back to what they were prior to the change. You get that document, you take that motion, you go to a meeting. Hopefully you go to a meeting with 300 people that have the same intent as you. You go before the board, you tell them that I hereby make a motion to amend the bylaws. According to the bylaws, I have 10 individual signatures on this form. This is a copy of the amendment I wish to make. You hand it to them. Someone has to second that motion. According to this book, Robert Rules of Order, you have to vote on a motion that's seconded. This book controls the procedures of the meetings. So when a motion is made and recognized by the floor and seconded, that motion must go to a vote. Okay? This is the part that they're probably not going to let you get to. They're going to tell someone in the crowd, and those people will start yelling back and forth. They'll create chaos. They'll say that your motion is invalid, and they'll try to adjourn it, try to table it. That's where you have to be strong, and your people that are there for the same intent have to say, no, we want this to go through. We want this person to speak. At that point, you have to read your change. You have to read it into the minutes. So you go on and you read the bylaws that you intend to change into the minutes. That makes it official at that point. After that, it's read into the minutes. You're responsible to post those changes up in different facilities.
Who's
Maybe put it
responsible
up
for that?
The person that makes the motion. But most people don't have that capacity to do that. post them up in all the facilities. You know, you got to make copies of it and put them out. You got to hustle. Or you can make another motion that the executive board and the COBA posts it up in those facilities and puts it on their website. I doubt they're going to do that. So you're going to have to hustle and do that. You post them up, you put them up on Facebook. However, you have to get the message out there for 30 days. The next meeting after that is the vote. So bring your A game and bring as many people as you can, because they will be bringing as many people as they can. At that point, the motion is addressed again. Changes in the bylaw were motioned to be made. These are the changes. Everybody got a copy of it. Everybody knows it. We read it into the minutes. All in favor of this change. All opposed. They take the vote, and if the vote goes in your favor, the bylaws are changed. They revert back to what they were before. Anybody can run for a position, and you can do your thing in 2020. You can make the changes you need to make. Let me just say this. A lot of correction officers feel like that board's been in position for so long. They know everything. They got all the connects. They know how to do this. You know, if we come on, we're not going to know anything. It's going to be starting from scratch. So what? Norman Seabrook and the executive board started from scratch. Phil Seelig started from scratch. All these previous executive boards started from scratch. They started with 10 members that wanted to make a difference, that got in there and says, what the hell is this? What do we do? And they sat down and they read, and they got lawyers to tell them what they got to do. And with the right intention, if you mean well and you have the right intention, it's going to work out just fine for you, like it did for everybody else. That executive board that's on there has outlived their usefulness, has outlived their success for correction officers. They are unsuccessful in providing a safe environment for staff. They are unsuccessful at representing these correction officers. We got officers locked up in prison for doing what most correction officers do all the time. Protect themselves, protect each other, use force. All right? And, you know, these things, this board is not, they're not right for the job. They gotta go.
I see you getting emotional about this. I can tell that this is very dear to your heart right here.
Yeah.
But
I just want, can I just say this?
Sure.
I'm retired. I'm enjoying my life. I got caught up in Norman, make the change. I went out there and I did rallies, and I handed out flyers, and I spoke to correction officers. I went to every meeting, and it wasn't the time. People didn't want it. I saw that, and I realized that I worked for 27 years on this job so that I could do this and enjoy my family and enjoy my life and come down a few pegs and try to be normal again. And I lost sight of that for a little while, and I love my retirement. And I say to people out there, don't get caught up in that. Realize why you did all this time in a bad place. But I'm upset because I feel like there's something that unfinished business. Look, I did what I did with Norman. He was removed. I knew he'd be removed. I knew he'd be arrested, and I knew he'd be convicted, because I knew what I was saying was the truth and what he was saying was lies. I knew what I was saying was the truth and what the executive board was saying was lies. I knew that he was going to be removed. I wanted to run for that position and make the changes that need to be made for these correction officers. Benefits the same since 1995. Legal representation that's feeble. Retirees got to come from Florida to New York to get their benefits. There's so much wrong, and we've discussed it. And I know how to make things better, and I wish I could have done that. But I have to say, I'm retired, but I'm here for anyone out there. Any group out there that is willing to make a difference and wants to do it. I will give you my knowledge. I will tell you where I failed, where you can succeed, and I'll tell you exactly how you need to go about doing it, because I believe that 2020 is the time where the change has to be made. And in order to do that, step one is here. and I know you know that, and I know most of the people know.
So how can they get in contact with you?
You can reach me. Send me an email. NYC Special Ops at AOL.com.
Okay.
NYC, like New York City, Special Ops, SPECIALOPS at AOL.com. I'm on Facebook, or you gotta look me up, William Valentine. Send me a message. I'm on Messenger, whatever, in Facebook. I'm an easy guy to find.
Right.
I'll be more than happy to guide them in the right direction, because I believe that experience and knowledge is the way to go about this. If you want to make a change, there's three things you have to do: organize, strategize, and take action.
All right, so let's spend a couple of minutes talking about strategy. Now, how many officers do you need to have a meeting, first of all?
Right now, you need 100 officers to have a meeting.
Okay. How many jails are there now in correction? About 16?
I mean, there was 12 when I left, and then there were specialized units, and then borough facilities. I mean, there's a good amount. I mean, you got damn near 10,000 correction officers out there right now, active.
So just say, for example, 10 officers from each jail come to a meeting. That's more than enough to do the things that we just talked about and need to be done.
Yes. Let me also say that the COBA is comprised of 15 board members, about 57 delegates, and then you have rapid response delegates and what have you. It's about 70, maybe 75 people, 75 people that are going to vote with the board, that are going to do whatever the board says. If they want to adjourn the meeting, they're going to vote to adjourn the meeting, and they're going to win it every time. So 100 people that you bring to the meeting has to be 100 people. It can't be the 75 people that are there already. Oh, and you showed up with an additional 25. That makes 100.
Gotcha.
Because that's what's been happening. They say, we got 100. We can have a meeting, which is very rare. There's months and months that go by without a meeting.
Right.
And every once in a while you get 100 or 120 to a meeting. It's not impressive to me, because that only means you brought about 40 people.
Right.
Because there's 70 there already.
Yeah, you're right, because when I was a delegate, this is before we needed 100 to have a meeting. But it would be mostly delegates at the meeting. People would come in and think that, a lot of people were there, but we had already had our delegate meeting. We had already discussed all the things that the delegates wanted to discuss. Now 10 officers from the outside come in and they see 50 people here, and all the delegates are just looking at them. Okay, now what do you want? What do you have to say? But the officers that were coming in, they didn't know that we were delegates.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if they want to make a change, that they have to have 100 people that aren't part of this.
Let's not even get into
union.
100. You got to bring 200 people plus to a meeting to do anything. All right? And incidentally, the delegates, they get a stipend from the union. They get a check from the union every 30 days. Guess where they give the checks out? At the meeting. So you're about to get paid. They got your check there, so you're compelled to come. And you're compelled to do what they ask. Look, I've been a delegate for 14 years. A delegate's responsibility is to their membership, to the people that voted them in. If people in my jail, if people in my facility are suffering, I should be the first one out there confronting the executive board and saying, what are you doing to help my people? What are you doing? What can we do to fix this? But delegates now, they have this weird alliance to the executive board, and they feel like their allegiance is with the executive board instead of their members. I don't know where this happened. I don't know how this happened, and $500 sure isn't a lot of money to make me go against my people or anything like that. It's just you got to come with a lot of people, because they're in control of these delegates, board members, and rapid response people, and all that other stuff. You have to offset that when you come. A lot of people don't know that.
So officers have to organize.
They have to come together.
And let me just throw something in here. If the officers come to the meeting and they're coming for the purpose of changing the bylaws. They can't come and start getting into, oh, something that happened in the jail, or something that happened to them personally, or I got written up yesterday, or you can't get into your own personal grievances at the meeting if it's supposed to be to change the bylaws.
Got to be there
if
for
you
a
get
purpose.
bogged down into everybody's personal problems, you'll never get around to the meeting will end before you even get to the changing of the bylaws.
The last meeting is a perfect example. Ironically, the day of the meeting, an officer suffers serious injury at the hands of an inmate. So, I mean, this has been happening for a while, for months. Officers have been getting hurt for months. And the entire executive board didn't show up for those. And ironically, the day of the meeting, you know, the president and a whole bunch of people had to leave. They couldn't do the meeting. And then when the officers came forward and started trying to make motions and different things, they were told, listen, this is about safety. This isn't about anything else. This is about safety. And I feel that they will use those things in the future as well.
Okay.
They're going to divert what you're trying to do, and they're going to talk about something that's very, very important, like safety, or like officers getting injured, or whatever. And they're going to divert the group. And if you allow them to do that, then that's what's going to happen. You have to go there with the firm intention of you have to have a mission. You have to know what to do with that mission. You have to organize. You have to strategize. And then you go there and you take action. It's the only way to make anything happen. Other than that, honestly, I'll give you my advice. I'll tell you how to do it. But if you don't have the numbers, then don't even bother, because it's a numbers game at the very end.
So those of you who are active and are listening to this, if you're in a jail, can you organize 10 officers, 20 officers that are committed to making these changes and bring them to a meeting? If you have 10 jails and 20 officers from each jail, got 200 people with a single-minded mission and can get it changed. Now, this broadcast, I know it reaches, you know, a lot of people, but all right, say like me personally, say if I reach 10 active officers as a retiree. If retirees are watching this video, can you reach out to 10 active officers, or to one active officer, and let him know what we're talking about and what they can do to change their situation? If we do that, then theoretically you can get enough people at a meeting with that focus of changing the bylaws and actually make it happen. But it's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take us as retirees reaching out to the people by any means that we can. Like, I'm using this medium right here, but you might have to just talk to somebody on the phone. If you have a relative or something that's on the job, you might have to call them up and say, hey, you know what's going on? This has to be done before 2020, the elections in 2020. There's enough time to change the bylaws if you really want to do it.
And just showing up to a meeting isn't going to do it. If 500 people show up and go, we're here, now what? You have to meet before that meeting. You have to sit down with your people before that meeting and say, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it, and get it done. You can show up to a meeting all you want. If you don't know the procedure for making the motion, if you don't know the procedure for changing the bylaws, if you haven't printed it up and had 10 signatures on it, it's not going to do you any good.
So if anybody is interested in going down this road, say if you have a slate that you want to put forth and run for the executive board positions in June of 2020, reach out to William Valentine. He'll give you the blueprint of what you need to do. He's going to refer you to the documents that you need to be aware of in order to make this happen. So I hope that a lot of people will be reaching out to you and saying, hey, what do we need to do now? Or we're going to try to do this. What is your take on it? Maybe you can advise us on how we should go about it. So what I'm saying is that if you want to make it happen, it can happen. But it's always going to come down to the active officers. And also, I would like to say to the retired officers, we have a vested interest in keeping the COBA strong. All right, because we're dependent on them for our medical benefits, our optical and our dental benefits. So we don't want to see the COBA fail. And we also want to see the officers remain safe and have a safe working environment and not get hurt like we're seeing them being hurt. So we, instead of us falling all the way back and saying, well, you know, we don't want to encroach on what the new officers want to do, I'm not saying we take the lead. I'm saying that we should encourage them to do the right thing and help them do the right thing, you know, using our experience and, you know, be aware, be available to advise them when they need to be advised. So we don't have to be out of the picture. We don't have to be in the forefront, but we do have an obligation to see that the union functions correctly. And believe it or not, there are 11,000 of us. There are 11,000 retirees. Right. There's 10,000 officers active, but there's 11,000 retirees. You know, I learned that at the trial. The federal prosecutor mentioned that at the trial. There's 11,000 retirees. So there's a lot of us. And see, if we reach out to 1 or 2 or 5 active officers, we can influence them to make the changes that they need in order to bring the union back to what it should be.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right. So I think that we've covered just about everything, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm so glad that William invited me to his beautiful home. I mean, this is beautiful here, y'all. And this is like a testament to what you can achieve if you use the correction department as a foundation to build from. But you have to stay on long enough to reap the benefits, okay? And that's why, you know, we're talking to you now, and that's why we are offering up our experience and our wisdom to help you stay on the job long enough to reap the benefits. That's why I wrote this book.
That's right.
And like I said, don't take my word for it. Go on the link that I'm providing to Amazon. It's going to take you right to the reviews. Read the reviews, and you'll see how people are reacting to the book.
I have my copy of the book.
All right.
Outstanding.
There you go. All right. So, Will, it's been great, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me over.
Thanks, Lavone.
Thanks for all you've done to bring the union out of the dark ages and into the light. And, you know, I know this is a very crucial point in the history of the COBA, and hopefully you'll be there to guide them the rest of the way.
I hope to see the correction officers step up for themselves. I hope to see a change in the executive board, and I hope to see great things happening for correction officers, because we do patrol the toughest precincts in New York. We do have a very, very difficult job, and you know, we certainly deserve the respect and the benefits for our families, for the job that we do, and for the injuries that we sustain on this job. So I really hope to see great changes coming up before 2020 or in 2020. And I thank you, Lavone, because you have been on top of these situations. You're a retiree as well, and you have the drive, and you know, you've been to these trials and you report to us, and I wouldn't know what's going on in the trial unless you did what you did. So I appreciate what you do. I thank you, and anytime you want to come out to the house, you're more than welcome.
All
anytime.
Right. All right,
brother.
Brother, peace and
Yes,
stay
sir.
safe. All right?
Yes, sir.
Thank
God bless
you,
you
man. All right.
Cool.
How can they get in contact with you?
Send me an email. NYC Special Ops at AOL.com.